Station, this is Houston. Are you ready for the event?
Houston, this is Station. We are ready for the event.
Hi, I'm Melissa Walton-Shirley with Medscape, and I'm so excited you're joining us today for our interview with Dr. Frank Rubio. We linked directly for video with Dr. Rubio through the International Space Station, Houston and New York. And then you're going to hear my voice and audio only because it's a landline link that we had to utilize through our community church. So I hope you'll enjoy this interview. It was a great uplifting look at the everyday life at the International Space Station.
This is Dr. Melissa Walton-Shirley with Medscape, and I'm excited to speak with Dr. Frank Rubio, astronaut and physician, who's coming to us live from the International Space Station. Welcome, Frank, and thank you for your time.
Well, thank you so much. It's an honor to spend some time with you guys. I've used Medscape for years, so it's great to finally meet you.
Thank you so very much. During your now over 200 days in space, has your background as a board-certified family physician and flight surgeon proven useful for your work on the space station?
Well, I think having a physician on board always brings a sense of kind of peace of mind. We do have a full medical suite up here and can treat up to including ACLS protocol. But fortunately, I haven't really had to use many of my medical skills. All of my crewmates are incredibly healthy. We all tend to stay in pretty good shape. And so it's one of those things that you hope to always be ready for the worst, but hope to never use even the least of our skills up here.
That's fantastic. Could you describe some general measures to ensure both good physical and mental health for astronauts in space? Like, what is your daily fitness routine, Frank?
Yeah, some of the processes that we see in space tend to mimic some of the medical processes that we see in humans as we get older. But they tend to happen a lot quicker here in space. Some of the major ones being bone loss and muscle density loss. And so we do tend to spend quite a bit of time doing resistive training, weightlifting essentially, but you can't lift weights in space. And so we use two large pistons to create resistance. And every day we do about 2 hours of fitness routine, about an hour of resistance training, lots of lower body because those femurs produce a vast majority of our blood and, just also tend to suffer the most loss, our hips and femurs. And so we do a lot of lower body exercises, squats, deadlifts, and things like that. And then we spend about 45 minutes on either the treadmill or a stationary bike and get our cardiovascular workout on every day also. So, every day seems like a lot, but because you're not walking around and you're not bearing your weight, your body tends to recover much quicker. And so you're able to work out on a much more consistent basis up here.
Are you able to communicate with your family on a daily basis? Is there also video and audio capability to sort of give it that feel as if you're closer to home?
Yeah, the team does a great job of supporting us on that. Every week we have a special allotted time to spend with our family, and we call those family conferences. And we just recently actually started using a video conferencing capability, and that's proven to be a great boost for our mental health. We stay much more well connected. There's just something about seeing your loved ones on screen versus just hearing them on the phone. And we can use that almost on a daily basis. We do stay pretty busy up here. Our work day tends to be about 12 hours, but that includes some meal time and that workout time that we talked about. But still, most of us try to block out a 10 and 20 minute block to stay in touch with our loved ones almost daily. And so, yes, that really does help with our time up here. But we also have a family that's up here in space. We call it our space family, and our crewmates, other human beings that I'm up here with, they become some of my best friends. Fortunately, some of them were already some of my best friends. And so it makes it really easy to get along and just have a great time together up here.
That's fantastic. Some of our readers wanted to know what type of blood tests are performed regularly on astronauts at the space station.
Well, quite a bit, right? We are trying to see and establish a baseline for what the effects on the physiological the physiological effects that space has on humans. Unfortunately, there's not been many astronauts, as you know, for any study to have power. We just need more and more subjects, and so because of that, almost all of us tend to get the full gamut of blood tests while we're up here. Very rarely do those tests get drawn. They get drawn up here, but they don't really necessarily get run up here. We will tend to send most of our samples back, either frozen or ambient, and then the labs down at NASA will store some of the samples for long-term study and also study them as we go. And so really almost any test that you can think of, we tend to get up here.
So we know the Artemis project will eventually take humans to Mars. So what do you foresee as the greatest danger to human health during extended and deeper space travel?
Yeah, so as always, unfortunately, once we leave the protective field, the protective electromagnetic field that the Earth provides, that exposes us to a tremendous amount of radiation. And the further we get away from Earth, the more that has an effect on us. So that's probably the number one overall risk factor that we face. Microgravity in and of itself obviously provides risk, like we talked about, to our bone health and our muscle density health. Isolation, like you alluded to, tends to be a factor for our mental health. And just also, for our loved ones, right, dealing with the risks that we expose ourselves to. I think most of us see this job as a tremendously fun and a great opportunity. But the reality is that despite all the amazing work that the ground teams do, we do still face tremendous risks. And so I think it's important for families and loved ones to learn how to cope with those risks, and also for us to help them deal with those risks as we travel deeper into space. So all those things, NASA does an amazing job of just breaking down any risk, whether it's an engineering risk or a medical risk. We break it down in the smallest blocks possible and mitigate everywhere that we can. And so despite the tremendously dangerous environment that we operate in, the rockets that we work in, and the places that we go, the reality is it's an incredibly safe job because we have incredible support from the ground teams and the engineering teams that are part of the NASA family.
Frank, could you pick one specific future medical benefit that may impact us terrestrials that you might obtain from your work through the International Space Station or even from Artemis? What specific one are you most excited about?
Yeah, we're looking at some really cool things recently. Two of the ones that I've been most excited about, we recently had a biofabrication machine up here, and essentially we're looking at 3D printing human tissues. We're starting with some very basic tissues like meniscus, but eventually the goal would be to use that type of technology to possibly print human organs, right? The fact that we can do that in microgravity and remove the sedimentary effects, the convective effects that the environment down on Earth has on those processes, we could possibly produce much higher quality organs. Now, there's still a lot of challenges as far as transportation, both up and down from space, but we're starting to, slowly make progress towards that real possibility. The other thing that we look at is crystal growth. And so we're able to manufacture, again, because we are able to remove some of those forces that we experience on Earth, we're able to manufacture much higher quality crystals up here in space. And so I think that'll have an effect on the medicines that we can create, much more stable medicines that maybe are more resistant to heat and they see less degradation over time. And I think that'll make much higher quality medicines available to a greater portion of the population down on Earth. So those type of things are pretty promising for what space can provide, what benefits space can provide for people back on Earth.
Well, Frank, we are hopeful you'll be home soon and reunited with your family, friends, and your Earthbound colleagues. I want to thank you so very much for your service to our country and more accurately for your service to humanity. This is Dr. Melissa Walton-Shirley signing off for Medscape.
Dr. Walton-Shirley, it was an honor. Thank you so much for your time. Take care.
Station, this is Houston ACR. That concludes the Medscape cardiology portion of the event.